Yes, yes, we are here for another round, another day. This is day five, is it not? Day five of Ascend, right, guys?
Yeah.
And I am so excited. And here's why I'm excited, because we are a reggae band. We are a gospel reggae band. We put the gospel first. And there's one instrument that if you take it out, honestly, it's not reggae. I've it is the foundation of everything that is reggae. In fact, it's so unique. The way you play it, you don't play it any other way, and you don't play it that same way in any other genre. And Christafari is blessed to have an awesome female bassist. And I say awesome not just because she's my wife, but we're also tremendously blessed to have an incredible guitarist that doesn't just play guitar. He plays pretty much every instrument, right, Times?
Sorry,
You play every instrument, right? Pretty much, right?
yeah, I can play just a little bit.
You're like Lenny Kravitz, but you're a phenomenal bassist. And so you started helping out Avion so that she could come up on stage by playing bass from song to song. And then I remember there was a specific time, I think we were in Mauritius. Yeah, we were in Mauritius, right? And we weren't there for the sound check. And so somebody else had to test the bass. And sure enough, hey, Connor, this is Connor, always behind the scenes, making things better for us. Sure enough, Nikita said, hey, teach me something. And so Times probably taught her. What was the first bass line you learned, Nikita?
Oh my gosh.
Do you remember it?
No. I just know the first one I had to do for Christafari show.
What was it?
It was Aloha Ke Akua.
Give it to us. Woohoo! and you were so sweaty. Your palms were literally pouring wet. Yeah, you're so sweaty right now. And so we have in this band not one bassist, not two bassists, but three. Thankfully, they don't all play at once. But today, well, you may get a little bit of that. So without further ado, welcome to Christafari's first ever Ascend Bass Masterclass. Give it up for Avion Blackman from Trinidad and Tobago, for Renato Taimes, Renato from Sao Paulo, Brazil, and for Nikita Carter from Holland, now living in Los Angeles. Go for it, guys. Take it over.
So, all right, guys. I want to start this
Okay, my volume.
about something really important on reggae and bass lines. You guys can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So, one thing really important about bass on reggae is melodies. All right, we always do something like repetitive, like a loop. All right, we go like that, and this make reggae. This is something really different about another style. Another style we have bass like go with the chord progression, like that. But in reggae, it's totally different.
Yeah.
We have some melody, and we have some pauses. We have sometimes we just invert the chord, like keyboard play like A chord, and the bass just play like C sharp or E. You know, we use like 30 or 5 on the chord of the chord progression. So this is something really particular of reggae. So today I want to show you guys something about. Let's start about pauses. Pause.
Pulses. Pulse.
Yeah. So I want to show you examples about this. Like make some roots reggae here. Pause. 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 This is something. You guys hear my track and my bass? It's okay?
Somebody says they can't hear you speak into your mic. You need to speak louder, I guess.
Oh, my cable. All right. Can you hear now?
I can hear.
I can hear.
All right, okay. My bass and track, okay, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, we have this situation, have a lot, play and like wait and play, wait. And also, we have something about play another note, different note of the chord progression. Like, here we have A minor, right? Oh, sorry. I will do another note, like it's not A, it's E. A, E. This is something really happen a lot. The chord progression go to some chord and we play another chord. But this note, it's part of the chord. Like in this situation, we have A minor, all right? Minor. And A minor, we have A, we have C, and we have E. All right, Nick? So yeah, we can use these three notes. All right? I'll use A for example. Now I'll use C. Now I'll use E. This is something really comum.
Então é algo comum.
Common?
Common, yeah.
Yeah, common.
Guys, if I say something wrong,
Dije algo mal.
All right.
No, no importa.
Huh?
you guys want to add this something on this?
Oh no, you're doing great. I
All
okay.
right.
I guess what I would say too, add to what you already said. Reggae bass is it carries the melody, the song, everything, but it's very simple. It has to be very simple. You can't put too many riffs and all kinds of stuff, and then it becomes not reggae.
Become guitarist. You know?
Yeah.
Human notes. This
And-
guy.
Yes.
And it's also, if you don't mind me jumping in, it's also the way it's EQ'd. I know you'll get into that if you haven't already. The way it's laid back, it's on the beat, but the emphasis isn't on the one typically.
Yeah, it's kind of laid
It's
back.
typically on the three. It's monotonous. It's hypnotic. How do you say hypnotic in Portuguese? Hipnótico. Yeah. It carries what I said in the key class. I think was that it carries the melody when the keys, which usually do in other instruments or even guitar, they typically just do a shank. They become the rhythm. The key and the guitar become the rhythm when the rhythm is typically do 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 do. In other instruments, it's drums and bass, but the keys and guitar become the rhythm, and the bass becomes the melody, which is why it's so stinking awesome.
Yeah. So, another thing it's really important about bass. It's be constant.
Consistency.
Yeah. Avion, it's someone who, for me, is the best on this because I'm a guitar player, all right? I play guitar. I use this thing. When I play this with the fingers, Dude, I cannot like sometimes go like sometimes I don't like a compressor on the phone.
Compressor. You need a
Well,
finger compressor. I
yeah.
know that because
Yeah.
when you do bass in the studio and you send them to me, it's like
Yeah.
come on. But Avion has this technique of being consistent.
Well, you have to. I lock my finger
Go ahead.
right to the
Sorry here.
Well, I lock my finger right and what do you call this? The amplifier here?
The pickup.
The pickup. I lock it
Locks her finger to the
at the
pickup.
pickup, and I consistently play in one spot. So that makes it, one song consistently.
Yeah, she consistently plays near the yeah. There's only one pickup.
Yeah.
The higher pickup.
Yeah.
Yeah, positioning it in the pickup is really crucial. That and the fact that you have been playing for how many years of your life?
A lot.
A lot. Since she was a young teenager.
Since I was 14.
Real quick, tell us how you became the bassist of your family band. Who taught you? And how you became the bassist of Christafari. Go for it.
Okay. Well, my sister, April, she used to be the bassist for my family band. And then she moved on. So the next person who could have played bass was my brother, who was the drummer at the time. And he didn't want to give up his drum throne. So he begged me to learn to play bass. My dad didn't think I could because I was really skinny and my fingers were, really skinny, dainty. And he's like, "Oh no, she can't do that." And plus he didn't want to lose me as his background vocalist. So my brother said, "You know what? Forget what he said. What he says." So he started sneaking at night. And we would learn to play the bass when nobody knew. And he would teach me in the dark so I could learn to sing and play. So we did a few months of hours and hours and hours and hours practicing. And one day we put my dad to sit down and audition myself. And he said, "Okay, you have the part." And that's how I became the bassist for the band.
At what age?
I was 14.
14. And now she didn't have running water, she didn't have electricity, so at night you would actually use what to light up the room?
Oh, we had lamps.
Lamps. So kerosene lamps. So and did you ever practice blindfolded?
Well, we practice in the dark.
In the dark.
Yeah, so I wouldn't see the fret.
When we were teaching Nikita, encouraging her, we told her to play blindfolded, and so if you follow her, it's pretty funny. She looks like Bird Box. Sandra Bullock. She's trying so hard. See, the typical thing is to get the bassist's neck. Right? We saw it just a second ago when Nikita was playing Aloha Keakua. She got the bassist's neck. Don't do it! The first thing you learn is how to play. The second thing you learn is how to play right. The third thing you learn is how to play without looking at your fretboard. The fourth thing you learn how to do is how to move a little bit. The fifth thing is how to dance and play. The sixth thing is how to sing and play. The seventh thing is how to sing harmony.
Oh my gosh.
And Avion's at the sixth level there. She's the airbender when it comes to bass. All right, let's continue on there, Taimes.
Yeah. So one thing I want to talk about also, it's one thing also Avion do it really great. What is for me, it's really hard because I play guitar. In guitar, we have a different like tuning. Guitar we tune little different in the bass. So I mean, I always think like guitar, and sometimes I run to the bass like that because I try to look for the notes and I can't find. Avion can play like also in just one place.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess the difference between guitar, you're all over the fret, and bass. One thing I learned is that you can find most of the chords. Mark, can you show? I don't know. Maybe I need a higher seater.
Okay. For your, it's go for it.
So most of the bass you should be able to play right here. So it's a scale, but most guitarists would find it, I don't know, here. So it'll be up and down the fret, which gives it different tones.
Yeah.
So when you play up here, it's very thin. And when you play here, it's more round and fat and
see,
bass.
That's what people would think the opposite. They would think the bigger the string, the further I get down the fretboard, the fatter it's going to be. How in the world is it that when you play it higher on the fretboard, it sounds bigger?
No, well, yeah, that's weird. But yeah, down here, this area is, you get a fatter sound, and reggae bass is more like boom, round, fat sound. And
you know what
so,
I'm liking it to?
Mhm.
We used to think that the best bass amp was two 15s, two big 15-inch or an 18-inch subwoofer, right? But it's not. It's 10 8-inch or 8 10 inches. It's a bunch of smaller ones that can create a bigger sound. So sometimes maybe that's what it is. I don't know. You tell me.
well, I think maybe it because it's closer to the pickup. I don't know.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I have no idea.
Yeah, this is something really crucial. You play on the same region.
Mhm. Yeah.
Make the note more close. Everything
Yes.
more sounds like.
And it makes it easier too.
Yeah.
I've seen, because you're a guitarist, you play bass phenomenally. I love your bass, but because you're a guitarist, I see that you teach Nikita to be up and down the fret like that to play a bass. And I'd be like, Nikita, why are you stretching your hands all the way up here? I said, well, that's how time, and so I'll have to come back and show her, you can play everything right here. Instead of, yeah, I don't know how to do it. I get so accustomed playing it right here. So that's something to keep in mind, that you can find everything right there.
So there are many, many ways that you can play a bass line, probably at least 50 variations to get those notes in different places and registers and octaves on the fretboard.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge is for you to not be moving your hands up and down so much. It'll tire you out.
Yeah.
Think of it as a marathon.
Especially if you have to sing and play.
Especially.
And dance and sing and play and smile and
Uh-huh.
oh yeah. I want to show you guys something about this. I have some track here. And I will try play in that way. Put my hand just here.
Mm-hmm.
I usually go like that.
Yes.
Sorry. It's too high. No need it. We have everything here.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever.
But it's good to know. It's good to know both, though.
Yeah.
Especially when you have a 4-string bass.
Oh, exactly. Because I don't have.
That's another nightmare. Real quick, Taimes.
Yo,
Whose rhythm is that?
I just make for this masterclass.
Taimes, record that. Send it to me. That's a wicked song.
All right, it's just a loop. That, yeah, we can work. So yeah, guys, we have this, and I want talking about some tones. Tones is the word, right?
Tones?
Tones.
Mm-hmm.
Tones, yeah. Guys, like Mark say, this is bass. It's more in reggae. It's more low, all right. Some frequency for us, just we don't need. And also, it's about where you play on the bass. If you play here, it's really different if you play here.
Yeah.
See? Here, it's something like, let's say, funk music or fusion, Jack Pastorius, guys like that who play like we have a song called Beleza, and the sample part I go like here.
Oh yeah.
That song I
don't-
play in two different parts on the bass. Because when we play reggae part we need to play like here. But when we go to the chorus, needs to be big clarity, like more open. The notes needs, because I have too many notes to play. If I play too low, you'll be like.
Yes.
But just this. But for regular reggae, we always go more on the pickup. Avion play on the pickup or more next.
Yeah, if you play higher up, you get even rounder sound. Good. Whereas here, it's thinner. Down here be thinner. And then up here will be fat and round.
But one thing about our bass, Steinberg bass, it's low.
Yes.
You play, you'll be low. But if you have like jazz bass or bass like that, precision bass, whatever, if you go more like on the bridge in English,
Yeah.
so you'll be high.
Yeah.
And if you haven't figured it out, we're all playing Steinberger bass. Christafari at one time was endorsed by Steinberger. They got bought out by Gibson and kind of pushed to the side. Certain reasons why we like Steinberger: show the head. Everybody, show your head. That's right. I'm going to show my head. There are no tuning knobs to knock. We have a Gibson Red over here that we use in the studio sometimes. Woo, that thing needs to be tuned for every song, sometimes every 30 minutes. We travel a lot. With this neck, I think it's graphite or something. Basically, it's the same type of material that you would make an airplane wing on. And so it doesn't warp or bend. Wood typically does with heat and cold. So when you're playing the Olympics, the Winter Olympics, and you're literally in snow, or you're playing in sub-Saharan Africa, it can be the same. And that is not the case for most wood necks. So that's one of the reasons why we like Steinberger. And also it's more compact, easier to dance and move around on stage. You don't want to get stabbed by the wrong kind of instrument. But let's talk about the strings that you have. These strings are super smooth, and so these are called flat wound strings. Do you have round wound or flat wound Taimes?
Flat, like
flat. Yeah. Avion, when was the last time you changed your bass strings?
I don't know, probably 12 years ago.
And for the bass that Nikita is playing right now,
Same.
that I gave you on our wedding day,
yeah, it was
2003, never been changed.
Never been changed.
What? 17 years?
Yep.
Respect the class.
Respect the classics. Yeah. So when people ask us how we get our sound, part of it is that.
Yeah.
Here's another thing that it is. I'm going to do a screen share really quick. Hopefully it'll work. And let's do a portion of the screen. Okay. So this is the portion. All right. So this is, can you see the EQ in front of you guys? Okay, this is our typical EQ. First of all, with bass, never ever do a delay, a reverb, any sort of thing that will change it. With the exception of maybe for a little turnaround in a song, you can add a wah effect to it, or a phaser, or some sort of filter, or kind of AM it. But this is a typical go-to. This is just a whole bass goodness. The region, the spicy region, is right around there. It's just super nice. Right around.
Is this like 100?
Yeah, around 100 is where you want that. Now, rock bass is about here.
Yeah.
Rock bass is like this. It's almost AM-ish, and I like to have a boost here, and maybe a little bit of a boost over here, just to kind of give it a little distinction between the notes, a little clarity within the actual, as you move up and down the fretboard, you know. But you don't want anything in this region. You really want to make sure that the boost is here. And I use certain plugins that that make that possible. But yeah, show us how you EQ your bass, Taimes, if you can.
My bass, now for now, I use my pedal, use some amplis, like Ampeg simulator, but it's just like this. I boost like 100 and some high frequency and medium frequency. I mean, just go like that.
Yeah,
like make
down.
some smile sometimes.
Smile, yeah, like the Amazon box. My wife knows Amazon box as well, by the way. Another thing to keep in mind in all of this is, yeah, it's the plugins that you use. We used to use something called a bass exciter, right?
Yeah.
It was a little pedal you used when we couldn't get amps consistently. And
I would do what Taimes have now. It's more up to date.
Yeah. I'm just saying that when you're on tour though, and you don't, or when you're traveling, or when you can't lug around, we have a big amp. It's a giant stack, and we use it once a year for a local show, if that. It's a lot to lug around, and it's a pain to get out of storage. Go on.
Okay, but we have some options in your hand, like if you go here or if you go here, whatever. But also traditional reggae bass on the 16s, 17s use a, how can I say this in English? Oh my gosh, this
Thumb.
thumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. This.
Yeah,
Some
make it
guys
dead.
use this. You guys can hear like
Muted, yeah.
From ska works really well.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just they try to make like acoustic bass, like the big one.
Yes.
That way you can have similar. Yeah.
I think when Fritz teaches his class on ska and rock steady, he's gonna have someone with an upright bass playing with him. It's great.
it would be great. Yeah, because in that way you can have this kind of song. There's something about this. Let's see. Yeah, I want to show you guys some examples about style. Now I play ska. I will play you guys some like lovers reggae on the bass can be like, let's see, this here. Yeah, you have more of them.
Where did you get that rhythm?
Oh my God, let's make for this class.
Dude, you made it for our next album.
All right. I think we have our next album here in
So
my.
good. So good.
Oh, thank you. And for Rocksteady, also we can go like that, you know. Oh, this works really nice.
Yeah.
And also Roots Reggae, you guys know we all right talking about. And also, guys, we have
Real quick. Jason Moyer said the pause is so crucial, or the rest. I like to say that you should be able. There should be moments that you should be able to drive not just a bicycle or a tandem bike or a car, but a Mack truck through. So like we did this song Talawa. Do you remember the bass line for that? Do 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 do.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Oh, I forgot it.
all right.
There's a big pause and bah! Yeah, it's just do 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 pause do do, and it just lets the snare hit. So sometimes you want to accent with the snare, like do 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 do. You just want to give it that break, but you definitely want that pause if you can. If you're playing all the way through busy, it's probably not reggae.
Yeah. And about pause, it's really important to sit one guy, one of my favorite guys, called Rob Shakespeare from Black Uhuru. This guy,
Robbie.
Robbie Shakespeare, yeah, have a lot of this thing, pause, like. Pause.
Times. Okay, Times. Do that one more time and press record, please. You're giving me the lemon face. The like I just sucked a lemon. Oh, it's so good. Record that.
Pause. No rush, guys. Just pause. Break.
Seriously, though, record that. I want to write something to that one too.
All right, thank you.
Abby, really quick. Alexander Garcia says the notes on the Soul Fire riff. He's been trying to figure out for a while. Personal favorite. Do you remember? We haven't played in 3 months. Do you remember Soul Fire?
So yeah, which one?
Go ahead. And play it slow. Even slower. Even slower. You see how her hand isn't moving? Just her pinky. Even slower. Yeah, that's sick right there.
Bobby's the spot. Maybe that's the part.
That one.
Bobby's that one he's talking about.
I think that's Word Sound of Power though. So let's
Oh.
play Soul Fire.
Well, the thing is, I don't.
Soul Fire.
Ah.
Slower. So there you have it. Yeah, and it's bop 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 and bop bop bop. So
Yeah.
those are the variations.
kinda-
But yeah, the funny thing is that Word Sound and Power was my answer to Soulfire. So you naturally and we go from one to the other live
we mixed,
too.
yeah, live we mixed it. So
All
I
right, let's
don't know.
continue on, Times.
Yeah, let's open for questions. I think time for questions, all right? If you guys have some questions, let's go.
Let me. I'm going through comments right now, the chat, and then we'll open it up to questions really quick. But Avion, your dad is one of my all-time favorites. His passion for rhythm and later Jesus was such a blessing. Let me and just so you know, Avion's dad invented soca music. Before that, he was a calypsonian. He also invented jamu music. Avi, could you play me one of those jamu bass lines that you grew up playing? Do you remember any of them? Do you remember any of them?
I have to remember it. Okay. The most simple one is. That was the most simplest one, but yeah, it's been years since I played.
And you'll hear a reggae version of that song on Avion's album that just got done mastering. I'm so excited. Avion's album will be out the 26th of this month. All right, let's see what kind of questions do we have, Connor.
Yeah, so first question, talking about the 3 and not 1, can you kind of do a quick comparison with some chords, with the chord progression?
Okay, yeah, and the 3, not the 1, is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Roots reggae is typically what we call a 1 drop, which realistically should be called a 3 drop. 1, 2. And so Marcus went through all of that, obviously, in his drum masterclass, which was wicked. And Nikita was there playing bass with him. It was so awesome. But so we don't always emphasize on that, but a lot of times you'll see Christafari use tension in music. So we'll have a break, maybe on the 4 coming out of the pre-chorus or the B section, and then we'll have the 1 silent, and then the on with the drums on the 3 with the bass, and like 1, 2, go ahead and play that bass line, Avi.
Oh boy.
No chains are on my feet. 1, 2, da 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 da. So yeah, that's an example of how we emphasize that beat, the cat, and then we showed you with Talawa, that's when we de-emphasize the drum, and by doing so, we actually emphasize it. So that's what I mean. It's not, we're not talking 1, 3, 5 with like keys, jank. We're not talking that. We're talking the timing. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. That's what we're talking about.
Awesome. For any of the things you're playing, I guess, can you either walk through what notes you're playing and or kind of describe the process using notes?
Yeah. Let's go through. Avian, why don't you go through Hosanna slowly, just one part of the song, because that's the most popular.
Oh boy.
Hard.
I think the chorus, or I mean, maybe Talawa is the easiest.
Talawa?
I can play Hosanna, but
Go play Hosanna.
okay. For the chorus. I have to remember because it's been a while. I'm so evil.
E, F sharp. Okay, continue play. F sharp, G sharp, C sharp, E, G sharp.
Let's teach him that one.
Okay.
Let's teach him that one.
So at the verse, see the King of Glory coming on the clouds with fire. The whole earth shakes, whole earth shakes. I see His love and mercy. Okay, because I'm just playing it fast, so I didn't have to pick up.
Play just that one part. Do dead slow.
So,
Okay, guys, this is E, E, B, 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 E, E. Yeah. Sharp, G sharp, F sharp, D,
is that all right?
Yeah, so there you have it. And the most challenging thing of all is to sing lead and sound so beautifully, which is what she does. She's a champion at it. But that comes with practice. Nikita, what's the easiest bass line that you can teach them that maybe we've done in the past, or something on the new album, something you've learned lately that where you're like, hey, you know what? I think that a newbie could pick this up if I do it slow enough. And why don't you teach them?
I honestly think Aloha, which is also on the latest album, which is F sharp, right? Times. So it's and it repeats literally the whole song. So that's why for me it's the easiest, because worship songs, they go change constantly in bridge, verse. But I'm learning from times like Roots Reggae is really like it stays the same. It doesn't change all over the place. So that's why I think you guys could do that.
Did you just call it Hoots Reggae?
Roots Reggae, sorry.
You've been hanging out with Times way too much.
she's learned. Hoots
Hangy.
has
First time we went to Brazil, they're like, I like it. Hangy Hoots. I'm like,
Hoot.
Hawkers and hip and hap music, happy music. Rap
Hippy
music.
hoppy.
Hawk and hole, rock and roll.
Awesome. So
Okay.
related to that, what
Yeah.
Nikita was saying is, any tips for worship leaders who play the bass? Jason's main problem is playing the syncopated bass part without using the intricacies of the melody. Do you have any recommendations on that while leading worship as a bass player?
Repeat that question one
Yeah.
more time. The syncopated question.
Well, I guess just, do you have any tips for worship leaders who play the bass?
Hey guys, you
Or
speak.
general?
No.
I rebuke that in Jesus' name.
If you're playing rock, yes, use a pick. But if you're playing reggae, please don't.
No, please don't. They talking about worship songs. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, I guess, obviously practicing as the physical part, practicing a lot. And second part, just do it with joy in your heart and worshiping God, and it will come out in your playing as well. So as a worship, put somebody who's playing worship. I that's what I would say.
Okay, I would add to that. When you start working at a bank, they don't give you a fake counterfeit bill and say, here's what it feels like. This is a counterfeit. Study a counterfeit. When you know a counterfeit, you'll be able to find a counterfeit. They don't say that. They won't let you touch a counterfeit. They only let you touch the real thing over and over again. So you will eventually know the difference between the real and the unreal, and the fake and the imposter. So study roots reggae. Get to know, if you want some good Christian roots reggae, aside from Christafari's 20 plus albums, Nengo Vieira will take you straight to Bob Marley's grave and take you beyond it. But yeah, know the real. Here's another question: what if you don't have a B string? And for those of you who don't know what a B string is, it's when you have a pet bee and you tie a string to its leg and he flies around in circles. No, I'm kidding. No, show us the B string, Avian.
Well, this is a 5-string, and 5-string bass. The 5th string is the B string. So this one, so it goes like really low. And with reggae, there's a lot of low end. You use the string mostly in reggae. But if you don't have a 5-string, as I said, you can learn it. I played with a 4-string for years, so you can learn your way around. Instead of playing, you probably have to do start here instead of. So you hear the difference. Or you can play open E. So you have to find your way around instead of. But you hear the difference. And this is thinner. This is more round, fat.
And if you're recording and you're absolutely desperate, you can detune the string, but I wouldn't recommend it. We had a bassist one time that was left-handed. Interestingly enough, he was Tyrone Rudolph, our drummer for 8-10 years. Oh, hello. It was our drummer's brother who played with us first, and he was left-handed and couldn't get a 5-string that was for left-handed, and so he had to play a 4-string, and that was a real challenge for us on tour. I wouldn't recommend it. I would say go for 5. I would not recommend you go for 6, because now you're just trying to play a fat guitar.
Yeah, that's.
And then you don't need that.
Do you have a 5 or 4 times?
Have
Okay, so you're a good example.
But I mean, too much work like that. It's really make my life.
Okay, guys, at the end of this class, we're going to be laying hands on the screen and praying for Taimes. That he gets a 5-string, and one of the ways you can do that is by supporting him. we'll give you the wherewithal to do that. But let's continue on. More questions, please.
Yeah, so 2 people asked about the dynamic between in the studio, are you using a DI for the bass? Are you miking an amp? What's your process of recording bass?
You can answer that, Mark.
Direct.
Right.
I go direct for everything. Anytime that I ever play bass, I just plug it right into it's a Motu at 828 Mark III or something. I use everything in regards to plugins and software, and don't rely on hardware for that. For me, a clean signal is all we need in order to beef it up. And then I just have a setting that I already, 3 plugins that I use. One EQ that just gets off the way bottom lower shelf, and then another one that's it's a T-Rax plugin. I forgot what it is, but it's the big blue thing with the knob, and then the last thing is a final EQ. But yeah, you don't need a lot, man. It's all about the position of it and the relationship of it with the drums. And when you turn the volume all the way down, you should be able to hear a little bit of drums and a little bit of vocals, and that's how you know you have a good mix. I'll get into how to mix a song on my own masterclass on how to mix a song.
And as that certain ways to how you play in the studio versus live. Live I would pull more on the strings, pull harder, but in the studio it just makes a lot of noise, a lot of fret noise. So I have to keep that in mind and play with less pulling of a string.
And you always ask me for nail clippers.
Yes.
Second she just came in, she's like, nail clippers. You gotta have your nails cut. Ladies,
Yeah.
if you're playing bass and inspired by Avion, you gotta have clean.
So they're always short.
Yeah, it's just
because the nail makes it a thin sound.
It makes it almost a clicking,
Yeah.
kind of a more fret noise. Fret noise is not our friend. So here's something that we do. It's different than how Taimes does it. I'm guessing that Taimes will record through a whole song or through a whole section. He's just that kind of a player. Avion is super specific, super particular. We'll get into how she records her vocals in the vocal recording class, and how we comp and everything. But yeah, 1 is never enough for Avion. 20 sometimes isn't enough. So what I'll do is we'll focus on that portion of the bass line. I will solo everything but the drums and the bass, and she'll play that 3 4 1 2 3 4. She'll play that over and over again. And then I'll ask her which ones she likes. We'll get rid of the others, and then I'll compare the ones she likes, and we'll pick the best one, and then we'll zoom in on that, and we will get it to line up perfectly with the drums, which are already completely in time. And so, and it's always, if this is the drum line, it's always right there, never in front, and never way in the back, unless it's a swung song.
But if you can play free like Taimes, I wouldn't recommend my way.
Yeah, she wouldn't recommend her way. But we are very specific. Our goal with the Christafari song is for you not to be thrown off by something that's off kilter. And so we like our drums to be in time, our bass to be in time, our flat pick to be in time, our chanks to be in time, and most of the time they're played by Taimes.
I don't want to say anything about this.
Do you compress the bass, Taimes? How much do you compress it?
I compress a lot because I don't have Avion's hand.
I know you don't.
So yeah, I do.
Yeah, I've tried using something called Bass Rider. I haven't had good success with it. Sometimes I just have to automate certain notes so that they're softer or it feels. I do like dynamics. I don't mind that because it makes it feel live. That's one thing I don't like about keyboard bass is it's just too stiff.
Yeah.
Any other questions, guys? Or anything you want to add, guys? Nikita, teach us "You Are Loved," please. Okay, now super slow, and call out the notes Taimes.
C, D.
Go ahead, Nick.
Sorry.
D, C, D, D. F, F. A, C, D, A, C, D. F, F, A, C, D, C.
And then pause.
I can play that part. Oh.
Where's that sticky tape?
And there's more, but this variation, but the chorus is the same.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so I'm going to go through a few comments here. Okay, so someone said, I do have some doubts about the relationship with the drum, as it would be to be aligned with the drum in reggae rhythm. That is your relationship. I know something kind of with translation didn't work there, but and anybody else want to talk about the relationship between the drums and the bass?
Let's see.
I like to have the drummer with his hi-hat like this. I like to have the bassist on the other side of the hi-hat on stage so that they're within eye contact. I like to have the bass cabinet right next to the drum the drummer, so the drummer's hearing it and feeling it also. That relationship, they almost, it's symbiotic. It is, they are inseparable. You don't mention Sly without mentioning Robbie, Sly and Robbie. You don't mention Carlton without mentioning Aston, right? Is it Aston? As the Barrett brothers. They were the best bassist in the world and best drummer in the world for reggae. They were brothers. There's something about that relationship that is absolutely crucial, which is why it's so crucial for our drummer to get along with the rest of the bassists. Otherwise, it's going to be hell on stage.
Well, I think some drummers, they just get in their own world, and they know that as a drummer, you can't be in your own world playing. You have to think about the bass and where it's going. And the same with bass. You just can't be like, you're in your own world and you're playing, to your own tune. You have to listen. Okay, the beat go in, and if you just like in your own world, the bass line is, but you're not listening to the beat. Your timing won't sync up right, and you hear the discord between the drum and the bass, the shift in the rhythm and the beat. So it marries together. It has to go together. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just like a rhythm. It's a rhythm. The drum and the bass is a rhythm, and you always have to keep. A drummer always have to keep in mind he's not playing to his own tune. He has to go along with a bass. Same vice versa with a bass. You have to go along with the drums.
I remember when Tyrone was with us, he would have a bad attitude if he couldn't hear the bass, and because he knew that there was a relationship there, and so he would. I have to hear more bass. I have to hear the bass. He was very particular with that. Another thing to keep in mind, Maximiliano said, "I'm a guitarist. I'm used to playing riffs. How can I create a reggae loop without always falling into the same?" Okay, so what was that?
That's the Taimes gonna.
That's a Taimes. I want you to answer that question after me. I will give you the analogy of a swimming pool. Okay, you fill up the swimming pool with something. Whatever you put into it, when you drain the swimming pool, that's what comes out. You cannot put in water and expect lemonade to come out. You cannot put in Jello and expect gravel to come out. No, what you put in is what you get out. So if you're listening to Rush every day and you're trying to play reggae drums, you're going to be playing like Neil Peart. But if you listen to Carlton Barrett over and over again, knowing the real. And then I need you to understand that, okay, we're trying to teach vocalists, and she'll be teaching vocals soon. It's not about the riffs. The vocal gymnastics, that's not art. That's just annoying.
Well,
there's a place for it.
Yeah.
But in reggae, it's not about you doing this. It's not about the hand doing this. That's what jazz is. It's about everybody coming together and making one sound. Bob Marley taught his instrumentalists how to play reggae by saying to each member of the band, you have to learn how to play all the other instruments for this song. So the drummer had to learn how to play bass for the song, had to learn how to play bubble for the song, had to learn how to play rhythm guitar for the song. And when they did that, they had an appreciation for how they came together to make something. Rock is all about the solo. The lead guitar is all about the solo. So this is my challenge to that guitarist. I dare you to keep it simple and to be steady and to be monotonous. Did you know the hardest note to do on vocals is a long one that sustains with no vibrato? It's not the up and down, the 7 different notes in one syllable. It's the you. that she does or whatever. It's the long, it's the belting. And the same thing with playing bass. It's about the technique. It's about the feeling. It's about the consistency. It's about the groove. It's not about showing off. And don't you ever slap in reggae.
I don't even know how to slap.
All right, Taimes. What would you say to a guitarist who naturally falls into wanting to do a riff when he's playing bass?
Let's talk about more technical thing. And if you are a guitarist, you know that, right? On one chord, we have basically 4 notes. We have F, all right? F, we have this, and I have this, and I have this. In reggae, you don't need to use all these notes. You can just use one. You can just use 2. So let's say economize. Economize is the word in English. Economize.
Yeah, be economize. That's fine.
Economic. I don't know.
Economic. Be limited.
Yeah. You have like reading like that. You can go like. It's too much, you know. If you go like. Just one note. You know, I have, but I don't need. I did 1, 2. I will say listen reggae, and you figure out.
Yes.
If you don't listen reggae, I use everything. But if you listen reggae, you see you don't need to use all these notes.
Yeah, you could be do 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 do, and you got a bass line. Real simple. It's about less is more. Less is more. Have we ever used someone from Ecuador says, have we ever used a double bass, stand-up bass, upright bass? If so, do we use pizzicato or bow? We played it like a normal bass, but just upright, never using a bow. But yeah, it's happened like once or twice, I think, in Reggae Sunday School and your album, but not traditionally, no. Danny asked this: which VST or DAW, Renato, can you refer us to for a person that has no instrument yet? Is there anything if you're talking not having a bass to play physically? Maybe Justin can answer this, or Taimes. Do you ever use synth basses?
I use for simulator real bass. In Logic, I have some plugin called Mute Bass. Can be real close to electric bass, but you know it's mid. Every note you play, you don't have like. Have this every note you'll be like in the same, so I know buy cheap bass, but don't do that because for my personal opinion, just no sound like real, you know. In some situation you want to got some synth bass, some songs, more modern songs, you know? But for roots, I don't think it works well.
There are, if you go synth, I would go all the way synth, like Casio CZ101 sounds, like early 90s. There was a bass plugin that we used on Digital Performer a few years ago. I think it was called Electric Bass or something like that. And it was kind of convincing, but it's still not the same.
I like the Quark, having really nice synth bass.
Okay.
Yeah, but...
Nice. Okay, another one. Would you recommend to add tensions to the bass melodies or just to stay with chord tones?
You know, sometimes I use like stuff like that, but
I guess every song calls for it.
Yeah.
Every song is different, and if the song calls for it, yes, but if it doesn't call for it, don't put it in.
Yeah. What pickups are you using in your basses? What brand? Active or passive?
Active.
EMG.
Yeah.
I think it's EMG,
Yeah.
and it's active. The only challenge with active, well, we remember how I mentioned that we were using a basic cider, which was a pedal. We didn't have to use that once we went active.
Yeah.
But here's the problem with active basses when you tour as much as we do. Sometimes in the middle of this set, once a tour maybe, we realize the bass isn't sounding right, and we have to unscrew it and swap out the batteries, right?
Yeah.
But active, I highly recommend active.
Yeah.
What do you think, Taimes?
Okay, for stage, I would say active for sure, because one thing about active bass, have a pre on the bass. My bass is passive, so I don't have pre. That's why I use pedals.
Yeah.
'Cause I can EQ on my pedal, but active bass you have some EQs.
Yeah.
About in the studio, active bass just make sure you don't have too much signal, because can be too much and it can be clipping. Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. And one thing that you like to do, somebody said, I see that Nikita is watching Bob Marley's bass player. They say Bob Marley's bass player. One thing that we try and do when we have instrumentalists come in, by the way, just so you know, our drummer and Nikita, who's playing bass now with us on a few of the songs on stage, did not start off playing reggae. They learned it. And so what we try to do is a little bit of a reggae school. You know, this week, this month, or whatever, you're going to learn the Wailers bass. You're going to learn, next one, you're going to learn Black Uhuru bass. We mentioned some of these, you know, so there are certain different artists have a different technique. Our technique is very different than traditional reggae bass. And so hopefully someday people will be saying, hey, we're going to learn Christafari bass. I try to make our bass lines so good that you can solo just the bass and enjoy the song. I try to do the same for drums, try to do the same for vocals. And then when you put all those things together and they fit, it's flawless. Let's go around the rosy here. Taimes, all-time favorite bass line. What is your all-time favorite bass line? Then we're going to ask Nikita. Then we're going to ask Avion. Doesn't have to be a Christafari one. Can be anyone in the world. Whatever comes to mind. Favorite bass line. Go for it. Taimes is going to say the one that I just wrote. But no, what is it? What is your all-time favorite bass line?
Go on. Promised Land.
Cut.
I want my favorite. This is really, really simple, but really not really.
Play it slower and for a little while. And that is Dennis Brown's Promised Land, also covered by Oswald in the song Dub Fire. They toured as his backing band. By the way, Dennis Brown is in the Promised Land. I just found out from an interview that I did with Papa San that he led Dennis Brown to Christ right before Dennis Brown died. Praise the Lord. So we're gonna find that out in a future podcast. Okay, Nikita, favorite reggae bass line of all time.
I like simple because I'm still learning.
Not Mystic. Beautiful. Beautiful. That's awesome. And somebody could learn that bass line in a day if they apply themselves. Easy. All right, Avion.
Oh gosh. I guess I like Talawa, and I also like this one.
Yeah. Backslider. Go. How do you give your life to Christ and say that it's eternal? And now you want to turn your back and go to the inferno. I love that. That is the come back now. Backslider. Step back to Jah. Oh man. Love that video, love that song. It's a shame that others didn't love it as much as we do, because it's one of our favorites to do, but sometimes you just got to be a fan of your own music. Yeah, that one is super, super sweet there. Okay, let's go for some more questions here.
Yeah, another one would be kind of what are your thoughts about when you're creating bass lines? I guess where does the inspiration come from, or how do you kind of process that?
I would say it comes from God, and knowledge of the instrument. The Bible says he put a new song in my heart. So what you do should be new. It should be original. One of the tendencies in reggae is to imitate and just keep repeating. And we've definitely done our fair share of it, but ultimately that is not originating. And sometimes that's even stealing if you're not paying royalties for it. So Taimes, one of the things that I'm hoping you can do is teach them how to write a bass line from scratch. Go for it.
Okay. What I usually do when I write bass line, this is hard because I have different inspiration, different situations, you know? So if I talking about technique, I will say you show to learn. Okay, some people just like bionic ear, like by Avion. I know, and some guys just don't know about triads, let's say triads. But some people know, some people don't know. But we have major triad, all right? And have minor triad. 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5. So the bass come from here, come from triad, you know, like let's say triad. 1, 3, 5, 3, 5. Basic one and works with triad. So this is my base for create bass lines. I think is it, but I have different inspiration,
Yeah, and I think every song, you know, I don't know, it writes its own bass line in a sense. I mean, you hear the melody and the bass line just kind of comes out.
Yeah.
It works with this melody, this song, you know. So I guess you can't just, I don't know if it's cookie cutter, you say?
Yeah, there's no cookie cutter.
Yeah, there's no cookie cutter. It's
Yeah.
more a vibe.
Sometimes I dream with some bass line. I wake up,
Okay.
go to my studio.
Me too. I've done that many times.
Yeah,
Okay,
so what?
Gyro says this. So going back to what Renato said and trying to figure out what you are doing, in reggae, you mostly use the root dominant, octave subdominant. Am I right?
Yeah. So
That means
what?
nothing to me. I'm sure it means something to you because you studied music, but most of
Yeah,
our band does not.
Root, third, dominant. Yeah.
Okay, so let's do a little bit of an exercise here, okay? Taimes, I want you to play me a roots reggae rhythm that does not have a bass line on it, and we're all going to listen to that rhythm, and then we're going to try and remember our bass lines, and each one is going to write a bass line to that right now without knocking each other's ideas out of our minds, okay? This is going to be hard. Here we go. Taimes, we'll start off with you. Nikita, you'll be last because you're the newest learner. Look at her. She's already sweating. Show me your sweaty palms. Show me the sweaty palms. All right. Oh, yeah. Glazed donuts. Okay, so Taimes, you play that, and I'm gonna mute us. And Nikita, once you mute yourself, Taimes you play the rhythm loop the rhythm for a little while, okay? And then Avian, I'm gonna come up with my bass line. Avian's gonna come up with her bass line. When we have ours, when you have yours, Nikita, you just raise your hand when you have yours. And in the meantime, we're gonna Taimes don't play anything, but I know you can play something. You can play bass in a second, but go ahead and play the rhythm without bass now. Hear Avian? This is Avian's bass line. Go ahead and stop the music. Okay. You hear Avian?
And then something like that. I don't know.
So yeah, that's hers. I only play the mouth instrument, so mine was. You got that one? And go ahead and play that to the rhythm Taimes so that they can hear what it would sound like as a bass. The answer is break and go ahead.
I forget, sorry.
It's good, it's good. Okay, Nikita, let us know when you're ready for yours. She's ready, okay.
Waiting for time to play the music.
Uh,
Okay.
Awesome. Taimes, you mind playing that to the rhythm now, just so that we can hear it because there's a delay. There's a
Yeah.
back and. You got it?
This?
Da, 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 do. something like it, but we get the idea there. Yeah. Times. What do you have? Give me 4 bass lines. 4 completely different bass lines. He's a machine.
All right, here's line 1. Baseline 2. Baseline 3. Ay, my gosh. Baseline 4.
Nice.
All right,
Oh
guys.
my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh. Like I told you, you can never leave Christafari. It's not allowed. What's a really good bass to play? Reggae. We already said Steinberger. And how to give a punchy groove. Avian, what's your technique in how you pull on the bass?
Punchy groove.
I don't know. How do you when you can tell when somebody's just kind of fuddling around with their fingers?
Well, as I said before, I stick my hand on the fret, whatever the pickups as a guideline, and I stick to one place, and I use the ball of my finger a lot to get the wrong sound while I pull hard with it, so you get I guess that's where you get the punch. So you see, but if you play like this, it gets like a thin sound, but you have to. That's where you get the wrong punch.
And you play on the pads of your fingers, right?
Yeah.
How do you do that and jump up and down on stage in concert without missing a beat? You dance a lot. You go crazy. How do you do it?
I guess it comes with practice. Especially in the beginning of your bass, you have to practice a lot. At least 4 hours a day, at least.
Okay, 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
How often have you practiced in a typical day when you're learning, Nikita?
I go to 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see she went to 7 hours.
Yes, sometimes you were doing more than that. Nikita, you're the newest one. I think that you can teach us more than anybody else. What are some of your practice routines? What are some of the things that you use to? Do you have an exercise you do? Do you have certain routines, certain this, certain that?
Avian gave me a machine to work out my fingers. Well, this is for your hand grip, but I will get another one for fingers because it's funny. When I started 10 months ago, I kept shaking like all the time. And instead of playing like this, I had like a finger that kept spasming. But it's a little bit better now. I can almost lay them all down. Another routine is Taimes always tell me, you need to play with the metronome all the time.
Yeah.
Your metronome is your boyfriend. Keep it with you all the time.
Sleep with your metronome, not with a
He
guy.
also told me you need to become one with the bass. So eat with the bass, sleep in the bed by your bass. One time I sleep in Hawaii with the bass and fell asleep on me. And then I realized, what is this heavy thing on me? And I realized I had it the whole night on me.
You need to get a t-shirt that says I sleep with my bass.
Oh. Yeah, and a lot of concerts. I watch a lot of YouTube. Times tells me I need to listen to 1 or 2 albums a day. So I try to watch a lot of live basses in reggae, only reggae, and albums as well.
One thing I don't do it anymore, but I should be. But in the earlys, when I was learning to play bass, there were a bunch of different besides the scale where you play, which you play over and over as a minor. I forgot how to play a scale. Anyways, so there's the scales, but then there are these finger practices that I used a lot. I don't know, Mark, can you show me the camera so I can show them? One thing I did a lot was I went to E string and I would do. That helps with strengthening your hands and the balls of your fingers, and you will get like blisters and stuff eventually from it.
And then calluses.
Yeah. And you go next string. And so you do that with all the strings and go to another fret. So this is when the hours come in. You know, you do 20 minutes of that and then 20 minutes of another.
That and blindfolded and you're getting better.
And then there's another one that helps with the strengthening of your hands. I would do like. So it goes like 1, 2, 1, 2. And that really, really strengthens your wrist work and your coordination with I always call this the walking man. Always have these. So you start off slow, but eventually you'll be like. So, but slow, but is when you get the workout. So there are things like that you can practice that will strengthen your hands, strengthen your technique in sound, and then also this one helps with this as well. So you go. I kind of think of yourself playing with drums. I used to play with my brother. He'll be doing paradiddles on the drum as you go taka 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 taka. So you're always hearing a beat with it. At the same time, you just giving your hand strength and your fingers coordination with your brain. So those are the things I used to do in the beginning.
All right, so this is what we're gonna do, guys. We're gonna show your photos right now. We're gonna take a screenshot of everybody. So if you want to be presentable, hopefully you're not in your underwear. Yeah, join us. If not, we understand. And as we do that, as we get ready for this full screen, this question just came in. What are some things you consider when adding a bass line on a song? Does the word of the song is considered when adding the bass to follow the words mean? Sometimes it does, like 4 corners of the earth. Do 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 do. When I heard that bass line, I knew that I was gonna accent it, but a lot of times it isn't like that. It isn't necessarily accented. Also in the Q&A, not in the Q&A, but in the chat, because you guys just write down the countries you're from. Just write down the. Go ahead and mute yourself if you are unmuted. But go ahead and in the chat right now, tell us what country you're coming from, just so that you're watching from right now, and I'm curious to see that. So go ahead and type it. Type the country you're in right now. This is so exciting. Have you guys enjoyed this? If you've enjoyed it, type your country and give us an exclamation mark at the end or something, or a thumbs up if you're on your phone. Wow, I just love to see these beautiful faces. Girl bassists rock. I see a few here. Hey, this is Fritz Madden. I see Fritz Madden's beautiful wife, Bernadette. She's got her bass too. This is so awesome. Fritz is the guy in the maroon shirt with the hat, and He's eating something, and he has a mighty beard. Fritz is going to be teaching us rocksteady and ska drums. We're so excited for that. Avian and I and Tori are going to be teaching a master class in a half an hour, in 25 minutes actually.
Oh, that's Tyler. Hi, Tyler.
Avian says hi, Tyler. Oh, hey, dude. Which country are you in? Are you in Thailand? Are you in Thailand? Nod your head if you're in Thailand, Tyler.
Hawaii.
Hawaii.
Ah, Hawaii.
We have to come back and visit you sometime. Are you in Kauai? Okay, awesome. So, yeah, wow, this is incredible. Let's see how many we can get added here. I want to see what countries you guys are writing from. And let's see what we got here. Virginia, Netherlands, Argentina, Sao Paulo, Brazil, Papua New Guinea, La Quinta, California, upstate New York, Brazil, Annette from Germany, Solomon Islands.
Bahia, beleza,
Queens, New York,
beleza.
Argentina, Ecuador, Hawaii, USA,
Avion.
Virginia, Philippines, USA, Brazil, Trinidad and Tobago. Oh my gosh, Venezuela, what? This is so awesome. Okay, all right, so I'm going to take a screenshot. Everybody hold up your instrument if you have it so we can see it. Joe Pickney, Canada. All right, and I'm going to take a screenshot in Avian's there. 5, 4, 3, 2. 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, let me see if I have it. Is there any way to get a full screen?
Somebody has a Christafari bus there.
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
Oh, Christafari bus. Where are you from? Cabo Frio.
Cabo Frio.
Look at this guy. I gotta get a screenshot of that. Oh man. Hey guys, I've been so blessed to be a part of this. I hope you've learned something. If you have, nod your head. If you've been blessed by us as much as we've blessed you guys, we've been truly blessed just by hanging out with you, being able to share this. It's so incredible. At the very beginning of this video, we had a video that we played for you guys that was what we do and where we go. And I know that each one of you guys have been touched by it. Chances are we saw you in Papua New Guinea or in Solomon Islands or in New York or in Oahu or wherever you are. Chances are you were blessed by us. Chances are that's why you're watching. I want to advocate for somebody in our band right now, and his name is Renato Taimes. Taimes, just wave your hand. There it is. He's a musical genius. He lives in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Right now, the dollar there is 5 to 1. It's a very poor place, and there's not a lot of money. And the biggest challenge that he has as a full-time missionary is becoming a full-time missionary and being provided for. And so all of his support comes from out of the country. And he's the least funded musician in the band right now. And I think he's the most talented. So would you guys prayerfully consider partnering with him and helping support him as he records and writes and every single day works on songs for Christafari? Even if it's a small amount and you can give it monthly, it would be absolutely incredible. You can do so by going to Christafari.com/donate. And then there's a link to donate. And if that link doesn't work because you're in Brazil, then you can click on the PayPal link. We just love you so much. We're so grateful. We want to see him fully funded as other band members are, and he's in a place, in a country where it's just not feasible for him. I see your Hearts of Fire album there. Love you guys so much. Anything else you want to say, Justin? Anybody else want to say anything? I love you guys.
Everybody, yeah, real quick. I just want to thank you all for attending, and I also want to thank all the translators and moderators that's working our classes. And I also want to encourage you to jump on our next class, which is band leading, featuring Mark, Avion, and Tori. So thank you again for coming out today, and have a great day.